Are these lights way too bright? I can't tell. I feel like it makes it look like I'm Voldemort, like I have no nose. Okay, that's much better, okay? And when they're too bright, I can't think. It's Succession Day, episode 2. That episode was very dark. Did anybody else feel that way, or is it just me? Let me talk about something that I thought about during this episode that I didn't realize when I said it in my other recap of episode 1. When Logan is talking about wanting his mom, another time that is super common in things is when someone is scared. You want your mom. I know I want my mom when I'm scared. Don't really let people in. So it's like for him to even be bringing up his mom, I feel like is a big deal. And if you've been watching my videos, like I always say, you know that I really want them to go into the backstory of Logan. But that dawned on me. Now, I highly doubt Logan said, I want my mommy, but the fact that he was talking about his mom, that could have been all it was I'm scared. And so instead of saying, I want my mom, I'm just talking about her more. Or we're going to get into it because Ewing is making moves. He's another one. You're acting like you're Mr. Good Guy over here, but are you using Greg? Now, to everybody online who's been saying, oh, I want Shiv and Kendall to team up, Shiv and Kendall to team up. Mom did call this, and I feel bad because she's so sick right now. My mom's super sick, and the second Shiv dipped out from where she was supposed to be, my mom was like, oh, she's going to Kendall's. And I was like, well, we don't know that. And she did. And if you've been watching my Succession videos, you know that I say this. But one of the really, I don't know what to call it, funny, cool, whatever aspects about these characters in particular is their dad is such a hardcore presence in their life that when they are just together, the siblings, even though they're adults, they revert back to acting like they're kids. That goes with the entitlement and everything else, but they do. Like if you watch it and then just the scenes where their dad is nowhere around, not even on the premises, the way they act towards each other is almost like they are teenagers fighting with each other over who gets to use the PlayStation next. Like, that's how they act, and it's fucked up, but it's also very funny. We have Logan panicking in the very beginning, and then we have him calling Roman and telling Roman it had to be Jerry. I trust you. Watch everything going on. Now, I kind of didn't think about this until after the episode, but, excuse me, Roman, not only has he always been kind of more concerned about his dad than the others. Think back to the first season when Logan has his stroke and he's in the hospital. He tells Greg, bring me something that smells like my dad. And Greg's like, that's really sweet. And he's like, don't fucking tell anybody. Fuck you. I'm pretty sure Roman is the baby, right? And I'm the baby, so I know how that goes. I still stand by Shiv. Look how red my tongue is from this Kool-Aid. I never wanted to drink the red. Just go in order. We have Greg panicking because I have a Greg theory. Check out my playlist. Greg has never been acting against his own family. Has he done shit to Tom? Yes. Has he done shit to other people? Yes. He's never been actively working against anybody in his own family, though. Even in last episode, he was not actively working against Logan. He was not actively working against Kendall. He was the only one not calling each other and giving out all this information and ignoring Tom. And I thought when Tom called Greg this episode, it was so goddamn funny. One thing I did notice, Kendall asking Greg to talk to his grandpa, and then he's like, well, he says something along the lines of, why can't you do it? And he's like, man, come on, blah, blah, blah. Just another way of showing, Kendall, you ain't got the balls, man. Like Mom says in our videos, if you ain't got the juice, you're scared of Ewing. What should I say, intimidated by? Greg ranting about how he was too young to be at Congress that many times. I thought that was hilarious, because that was just really funny to me. But, the Trojan horse. Was that, okay, I get what it could mean in the show and how that's funny. Was that a fucking Troy Easter egg, HBO? Genuinely want to know if that was a Troy Easter egg. Because if that was a Troy Easter egg, everybody knows that Brian Cox plays Agamemnon in Troy. Brad Pitt playing Achilles. And I was watching clips from that movie like 20 minutes ago, and I'm like, well, isn't this very similar? I want to know, HBO, was that a Troy Easter egg just for shits and giggles? It also makes sense in the story and is funny, but I'm like, was that a Troy Easter egg? I want to know. Cousin Greg, one thing that is being heavily discussed, and we'll get to it, is Greg lawyering up. Kendall wants to get him a lawyer. Logan wants to get him a lawyer. He wants to get his own lawyer. He ends up talking to a lawyer. Another thing I thought was odd was Kendall saying, he was like, well, he essentially says, you promised me you wouldn't tell Congress if I gave you the paperwork. Like, you promised me, Ken. And Ken's like, oh yeah, and I won't. But I think he's lying. Like, I can't just show up in court. Take note if you're watching, motherfuckers. I can't just show up in court with papers and just go, I have no reference or proof that this is where this came from or anything. Maybe Kendall could say, but I feel like that would get him in even more trouble, is if he says, no, I printed these documents myself. But then there would be questions of, how did you know where to look in the system? How did you know this, and this? Did you personally have something to do with it? So you have to go, no, this is how I got it when it comes down to court. Especially Congress. So Kendall's saying, I don't have to tell them where I got them from. That's kind of bullshit, unless he has somebody else he can pin it on. When Kendall's assistant, who, god damn it, I've brought this actress up several times. I'm like, no, she is the eyes and ears for Kendall. She gets everything before he does. Jess sees and hears all, and she's so good at just playing the, like, I'm back here. And sometimes she does really funny, like, funny shit, and sometimes just even her reactions are funny or serious or whatever. She's a very good background player that I think people forget about. And when she's telling people to clear the room and stuff, I don't think Jess is really looking for power or anything, but I do think she's kind of getting fed up with Ken. And remember, they're still in Rava's house. A few things she does this episode, and I'm like, she clears out the room at Rava's. We'll get to it. And she does clear out the room. Kendall is putting down the staff. He's like, okay, mental giants. Now, I don't know if these people are working with him or if it's Rava working from home or what is going on, because she has made several statements that, like, I need to work, Ken. Besides me thinking it's a Troy Easter egg, Jess is also the one who's like, this is from Stewie. And it's just so funny how she says it, because then she says, and he goes a fucking Trojan horse, and she's like, do you want me to look inside of it? That was genuinely fucking funny. I have to find it, but somebody commented either on one of my videos or in the Succession group, but I think it was in my last video, that the razors are Stewie's, and that is fucking genius. And Mom and I were both like, Mom was taken back by that when I told her that. Yes, it was on one of my videos. KD, you saying that it was Stewie's razors, I'm like, because then the Trojan horse would also make sense on that level too. Like, I'm sleeping with your fucking wife. I think that I did not come up with that. Someone who left a comment on my last video did. KD, I was like, that is fucking, I never thought about that. So if anybody else thought that, let me know. Is it Stewie that is seeing Rava? Do we get the Tom and Greg phone call, though? It's so nice having these actors not together, but together again. You know what I mean? Having dialogue. It's always great. And Greg's always seeing shit he shouldn't, and it's because people count him out. That's how I feel. I feel it's because people doubt Cousin Greg. That's why he is overlooked. It's like, you don't think he's a threat. And then it's like, no, he kind of has shit on everybody. He's the one who sees Shiv going into Kendall's building. He's the one who tells Tom. That's how they know where they're at. And Kendall doesn't even think about it. Not once does anybody go, what about Greg? What about Greg? Did anybody talk to Greg? Nobody has asked that. Tom's obviously tried contacting him, but he's been ignoring it. Loved Shiv and Kendall essentially saying hi, but what the fuck? I don't know if Jerry was taking pictures of her name on there, and maybe that is what it is, because that's super cute and sweet if that's it. I think there was something more to it, though. But don't count Jerry out. I do not think that Jerry is being, quote, set up as much as people think. I said this in my last video. Jerry is somebody that you would want at the head of your leadership at wartime instead of somebody who's green like Roman. I think I do, and I said this to my mom. I was like, is it bad that the character because everybody identifies with the character. I'm not saying I'm like Roman, but I can identify with him a lot. One thing that I do all the time is what he did last episode is start singing your sentences. So when he was like, your friend doesn't like you, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking die. You know that I've had a long day when I start doing that. What I appreciate about Roman is he knows exactly who he is. I like when he talks with Jerry and not just saying the other stuff, but saying like, I don't want you to worry like I'm some fucking ignorant moron that's gonna spout off at the mouth. Like, I'm not. Like, I know I come off like I can be over the top, but I also know how to behave. I'll also acknowledge the fact that I know exactly how I can be. Did like Jerry being smart. Now, I don't know if I think this is both, is looking out for herself and she does genuinely care about Roman, is her insinuating how important he is and how great he is and stroking his ego and building him up. And that's what I mean. I do think there's a genuine, like, I'm looking out for you type thing. And then the apprenticeship. So by the end of the episode, we have Logan saying, oh, Shiv, you're president. And she's like, what the fuck does that mean? And then over here we have Jerry going, Roman, you're my apprentice. When it's like, I don't even know what that really means. But she's, like I said, I do think part of it is genuine. And I think part of it is strategic. Finally get Shiv and Ken talking. And one of the first things she says when she's through the door is Lisa here? And I saw people online, I didn't come up with this either, that they are under the impression that Lisa and Shiv were together at one point, and that's why Shiv is so bothered by this. That's a possibility. Just don't think many people get close to this family. Just think it's hard for anybody to be a genuine friend with these guys. And So that's kind of how I took it, but maybe they were. Maybe they did have something going on. Because there's definitely more than just, unless that's just the entitlement of, you're not going to do something for me. That could be it too. But she's real bothered by the fact that her friend is doing this, and it's like, I get being like, oh shit, but it's, and this is a big deal, you know, but it's like, when your friend's a lawyer of that caliber doing that type of shit, you're going to be like, I know they're going to jump on one or the other. But if my ex jumped into some shit, just saying, I never put my hands on him. I'll leave it at that. But if he got fucking involved in some goddamn legal shit, I would. So if it's an ex, I can totally see why she's this irked. Here's the thing. Shiv telling Ken, what dad did to you was cold, the sacrifice was cold. Bitch, you knew. You knew. Go watch the end of that episode. You knew. You asked for your husband not to get in trouble. You were like, not Tom. And he says, then you know what I have to do, and you are sitting right there with your dad while it happens. She's kind of just being a sneaky snake this whole time. I did like that Kendall agreed with Logan. He knows. They're both on the up and up. And well, we get to that at the end of the episode, that Kendall completely shows who and what he is. Because I don't think that was, I don't think that was supposed to be funny. I think that was supposed to be tense and fucked up at the end. We get Kendall doing the whole, you tell yourself you're a good person. Ken, you are doing the same thing. Just want to rub it in your sister's face. Not only do you want to rub it in your sister's face, where I've already discussed why Shiv is too entitled for her own good, but not only are you trying to rub it in her face, you're just trying to use her. When you don't get your way, you go nuts. I liked the conversation between him and Shiv and her being like, yeah, okay, you're sounding like a fucking prick. So glad that we got Marsha back this episode. I didn't think she was going to come back this soon, but I'm so glad she did. Like a boss. We do get Logan not eating. Logan is lost. Like we've been saying, Logan is down. He doesn't know who to turn to. He doesn't know what to do. And he finally asks Hugo, has anybody reached out to her? And he's like, yeah. And obviously Hugo and Marsha have a good rapport, because not only does he respond to her in French when she shows up, but you can just tell like they're comfortable with one another. And he immediately is like, oh no, she's free. Like you've known this the whole fucking time. How come you don't, what? We do get to see Logan snap at Hugo and at everybody. And I feel like in these past 2 episodes, they've been showing us this is exactly how Logan Roy became Logan Roy. He ain't nobody to fuck with. I say something, it fucking happens. I'm not playing around anymore. I'm giving you a goddamn order. This isn't willy-nilly time. It's really sad when he calls Connor, but we'll get to that, because who is the other person he says? My brother. So either Ewing is playing something completely different, or when it comes down to it, I think he's going to stand by Logan. Because he's talking about taking a flight when he goes off, and that's when he says, get a hold of my brother. And it's like, oh, I think you and your brother might have a rift. But like I said, I think I really hope we get that backstory of what went down. But there's a reason why they might not get along, but I don't think they would ever truly take each other down. Do you want to know who I think knows that? Marsha. She's the one who wants him at Thanksgiving. She's the one who wants all this shit. And then in this episode, we see her saying that thing about the trust. And I'm assuming Ewing might have something to do with that. They might not get along, but still my brother. Remember, his brother lives in Canada on a big, huge chunk of land. And so I think he was saying, we're going to illegally land there. Nobody's going to know where I am in the middle of fucking Canada. And it's like, maybe there was a plan. There's just unsaid things between them that they just know. Logan rolls up in an airplane one day, you know what the deal is. I've discussed this at length, but I love Connor and Logan's relationship because we do not see that with any other kid. Connor, when he speaks to his dad, gets away with more and isn't as afraid. And I really appreciate it. And some of the funniest things are between Connor and his dad in the prior seasons. They're hilarious. And Logan apologizes, but we know that's BS. We know he just wants Connor on his side. He wants to act like he's helpful, and he wants to act like he's doing something good for Connor, but Logan isn't. He just needs Connor on his side. You got to remember that they also have stock in the company, whatever the fuck. I'm no business person. I work in a factory, but there's things that go on. I did like when Shiv and Ken were going back and forth about the papers, and they were just both acting stupid. Them, I will if you come and do this. No, well, I don't believe you have them, so show them. And Ken still hasn't. They're calling his bluff. Jess, I really do. I don't think she's gonna like be a major player. I just think she's gonna be like, Kendall, I cannot fucking deal with you by the end of this. She comes and tells him that Roman's there, and Kendall gets all pumped like he's Mr. Big Shot. Like I think he thinks that his siblings are coming to him. I know he's not stupid. I know he knows this could be ulterior, but I think he really thinks they're gonna jump ship right when I tell them. Another thing Jess says, and I don't know, this is where I started to think maybe she is doing shit on purpose. But I don't know, this could, whatever. And Shiv gets irritated at this is when Jess tells Kendall, Lisa needs 2 minutes from you. And Shiv is like, what the fuck? And honestly, I kind of think that's where it took a turn in the emotion part for Shiv, and she kind of went more on the defense. Before Roman has a chance to get up to the penthouse, Kendall straight up tells Shiv, you're the one I want. And we end up finding out he's just bullshitting with everybody. Okay, who thought that motherfucker at the door at Greg's is a goddamn cop, right? The second he opened up that door, I'm like, cop, mom, cop. That's a fed, that's a cop. I know a fucking cop when I see one that's a motherfucking fed. It's a motherfucking cop. This list wrote down. Yeah, that's a fucking cop. He says he's from Waystar. Can I come in? Can I come in? Just so you know, you never let an officer in. Unless you have some shit going down. But yeah, if they come knock on your door, you don't just let them come in. Because if you let them come in, then they can run around your fucking house and shit. Greg asks, first he says he's from Waystar, then Greg asks if Logan sent him. He says, no, you're not listening, Playing that fucking semantics game that if you've ever been in trouble with the police, they kind of like to do that shit. Immediately starts talking about has the FBI called. Now maybe this guy is a lawyer, maybe I'm a jackass, but I think that's a fucking fed. Poor friend Leah is just trying to do the right thing. She's like, I don't fucking know, I'm still in school. I did like when Greg said, you go, now. Because if I was Leah, I'd be like, I know who your family is, I know what's going on, and I don't want to hear a goddamn fucking thing out of any of you. Even if I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to know shit. Haven't you ever dated a drug dealer? You don't want to know shit about what they're doing. That way you can genuinely say, I don't know shit. He was an idiot. I don't date a drug dealer anymore. Shit, if he was good at it and not an idiot, maybe I wouldn't have fucking left. Yeah, and nobody knows how he got past the doorman. Flashing a badge will get you past a doorman, I'm pretty sure, right? We don't have doormen in Metro Detroit or Detroit. Where are their doormen at? You can tell me where a doorman is in Detroit. I'll fucking pay you. You don't know what we call a doorman? A bouncer. And they both talk about calling Jerry, and Greg's like, I'll call her first or something. That was fucking funny. I really liked the scene. I really liked this. Lisa Bloom does not fucking know what she is fucking in for. Like, you can tell Kendall's not fucking kidding. He's like, my dad will go to the ends of the earth to fucking destroy me. I don't think you get it. And I don't think she gets it either. I think she kind of thought, yeah, this will be a fight, and I'm good at what I do. But I don't think she understands how scorched earth Logan is, and Kendall does. And Shiv is still lying to Tom. Tom knows that she's at Kendall's because of Greg. And she doesn't know that he knows that. And she's still lying to him. So, just like in my other recap, I do believe that I don't know what side it will be, but Tom will be on one and Shiv will be on the other. And I was just talking about this with my coworker the other day. I was like, well, sometimes people hit a point in their life where their marriages just kind of become a business because everything's all tied up together. And I know that this is totally different, but I really liked Tom's comeback of, don't treat this like a bank or a deposit or a stock market. It is my feelings. One, it was poignant and it fit the story. And two, it was just like, yeah, fuck you, Shiv. Like, you really hurt somebody and still are. Loved when Roman said, here comes the attention whore about Kendall, because he had to go talk to his lawyers. So then by the time Roman got up there with Shiv, Kendall's walking in. It was actually the scene where I realized that and said it to my mom. I go, I'm most like Roman, aren't I? Is when I have where is it? No, I said I was fine. I'm not. And Roman is a dick. Didn't bring me anything from the airport. Meh. And that's totally something I would do. You get Shiv complaining, it's one line of dialogue, but she complains about Rava's workers being there. She's like, oh, does all our stuff have to interfere with the dog walker? It's like, bitch, you're in her house. Ken, bitch, you're in her house. Motherfuckers, you're in this woman's house. I love when they're all admitting, like, no, I'm just here to watch that one. I'm just here to watch that one. No one knows where this one is, and we're just all being, we don't know. I feel like I said, when all these characters get together and they're finally alone, because in a minute, watch my other recap, I said, Ken, maybe you're more like Logan than you think. Use your kids. You keep saying how you wanted to see them. We'd never see you with them. You lie in this episode about going to give them a hug, but you're going to talk to Stewie. And then in this one, when Roman makes the joke about, oh, he remembered her name. It was hilarious. We have Greg telling an Uber driver he's going to make sure he gives him 5 stars. That's why we love this character, because not only are you kind of like us, but you're genuinely a nice guy. And that's what he tells his grandpa. And his grandpa's kind of like, I don't know how to take that shit with the lawyer at the end yet, because I'm like, obviously it sounds like you want to go against Logan, But are you just trying to strong arm Logan, or are you trying to be a contender against Logan, or what is it? And he goes to talk to his grandpa about getting legal counsel, and I don't think any of us realize how much Ewing is going to play the game, even though he says he doesn't want to. These guys are pretty old, and I don't know, maybe something happens. I don't know. We could all there's a million ways to go with this character, but I think that Greg is going to stick with Logan eventually, or I don't know. I just have a feeling that Greg is going to end up very well off in the end, or something god awful will happen to him, and we'll all be upset. One thing I do love about Ewing and Greg, though, is Greg pretending he knows what his words mean, because I don't know half the words Ewing is using. You know what I mean? But I love when Greg just pretends, or pretends he knows a quote, or pretends he knows what he's talking about. I love that. Here's what makes me say that Ewing is going to start playing the game against Logan, maybe, because he shit talks Ken. He says, I don't like airing dirty laundry out in public. Like, that's fucking not right to me. He's old school. So it's like, okay, so does that mean that you are siding with Logan, or does that mean you are just not siding with anybody? Or, like you said, you're going to back Greg. So are you going to back Greg to the point where you force Logan into putting him into a higher position, maybe like Abby was saying, but in not the way Abby thought it would happen? I'll back this person taking over Logan. So how about that? It's still family. It's just not a kid. And Greg says, I love you. And I think he genuinely means it. Huge thing we find out is that this was premeditated by Kendall and that he spoke to a lawyer. Finally get to the Roy kids being alone, though, without Connor there yet. What does Kendall immediately say? Let's gang up on Dad and take him down. Like, are those the terms you want to use? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, just his vernacular, the way he's coming at these situations. It's like, no, you are just aggressive and pretending you're not. We'll mention for thing that made me laugh when Kendall said, don't touch anything in my daughter's room, and then Roman started touching stuff. We found out that Kendall spoke with a lawyer, and I loved thoroughly lawyered emotion from Roman. That was hilarious, even though they advised him against it. That was just a neat little wrinkle for me, because it was like, what the fuck? Because that's what they said. They were like, and Shiv is right. You couldn't have warned us. Like, look we're sneaky behind Dad's back right now. You couldn't have been sneaky before and tell us that you were going to do this shit? Or, because he does say he thought about it last minute. Did Naomi tell you to do that? Because I think Naomi is a sneaky rat. Connor shows up and Roman says, I thought I heard a clown car pulling up. Hilarious. But there's literally a scene where we see them all get comfortable. We see Connor lay down on the bed. We see Shiv take her jacket off. We see everybody's posture change. And this is what I mean. Once they're alone and together, this is when they're talking to each other like they're 14 years old. Essentially wants them all to back him and take over. And one great line was what does he say? Because us multiracial transgender rights screaming 20-year-old dreamers, we're the ones to do it, right? And Kendall does make valid points, but he also sounds like a fucking idiot. Somebody in the fucking 1% would say, in the next 100 years, information is going to be more important than water. Do you like when Shiv tells Roman Jerry can look after herself? Shiv hits Roman with a low blow and he just says, fuck you, bitch. I think that's where Roman genuinely started getting more defensive and angry and leaves the room, and Connor has to go get him to come back. He goes to get Roman, he says, that was low, at least try to keep it nice. That's what I mean, like, Connor's Connor. We get Marcia fucking coming back, and I fucking loved it, because I've literally said that before. I've been like, no, you humiliated me, and that's fucking different, motherfucker. One thing that I was like, if we get this will make everything go away right here. If not, Marcia's gonna be difficult. Logan should have immediately said, I'm sorry, but he's not that kind of man. I do think there's a genuine love there, but Marcia is ruthless. I also think she don't trust the kids either. And we find out she has a daughter. When all of the Roy kids start to talk about the wolf pack, though, it kind of sounds like Ken knew. Ken is the one going like, no, we knew. Now, I don't know if that is because he's trying to convince them of that. That's what Kendall says. He says we knew the vibe. And that's what I'm talking about. If you know you are creating a bad work environment that allows people to get away with shit, and you don't do anything about it except nurture that, we knew the vibe, we knew the environment, we know what goes on. It's true, he's right, Ken is right. But he's kind of leaning like he knew more than them, because I don't think any of them knew exactly what was going on. But the fucked up part is, none of you are shocked by it. Mid-conversation, we get the lie about, I just want to go hug my kids. Okay, Logan. And Kendall goes outside to talk to Stewie, and gets in the car, and we find out that Sandy has a daughter, and they're on the phone with her dad, and she's trying to play it off like they're so great, and they don't do business this way over where they work. And it's like, yeah, no, you probably do. I did like Roman's loyalty in saying there's something about betraying my father that bothers me. I do feel like we kind of learned through the Sandy conversation and the Jerry conversation with Roman that it's like, no, this is just going to be terrible for you guys. even if you try that shit and then try to put one of you in charge. Either way, it's not going to work out. But then we get to Shiv and Roman talking, and she's like, no, we could just knife him now and let him bleed out. And Roman is bothered by this shit. He does not like this talk. And like I said, remember back to season 1, episode 1 or 2, he's the one who's like, bring me something that smells like dad. Like, he's afraid of losing his dad. And now people keep bringing up his death and, like, metaphorically bringing up his death, and he don't fucking like it. Shiv brings up Rhea and Jerry. Makes me think you just have a grudge. This to happen because it might actually kill him for real. Brings up, Dad was going to send me to jail. That's a total play. That's a total, let me remind you, and you that he would have done it to you guys too, but not really to Shiv and all this shit. That's just him trying to remind them, like, be scared of Dad. But did anybody else notice that season 1 comparison where Kendall comes back at Shiv? Remember when they're in the hospital and Shiv says, she goes off on a tangent about when their dad's still in a coma, and she says, you're green, you're wet, you have addiction issues, this, that, and the other. She's like, I'm not saying I think that, I'm just saying that I'm speaking with Dad's voice. And Kendall, I don't think this, but you're divisive, the token woman, wonk, woke, and a snowflake. And it's said in kind of the exact same way, and then she gets all salty, just like Ken did, and I thought that was kind of funny. All of the kids tell Kendall they will not go and work underneath him. They don't think he deserves the top spot. They go their separate ways. Shiv calls Tom. He tells him what's going on. Roman calls Jerry. That's when she uses the term snake linguini, and I thought that was a very good way of explaining it and saying, like, no. And then he says, well, I don't even know if I can trust you because you could be looking out for yourself. But like I said, I think that Jerry knows more than she's letting on, and I think that she genuinely cares for Roman and is strategizing with Roman. But I do think she's right. The thing Jerry says, I'm an incredibly dangerous enemy to have. The donut scene, and I loved this. This was so funny, and like I said, this episode was so tense that when we got the donut scene, it was fucking hilarious. These are relevant donuts. That's when Connor starts showing his true colors, and what does he say? You're spooked by some donuts, and he's getting all upset, but it's not the donuts that are making him upset. He tells Connor he's irrelevant and doesn't matter, and when Roman says, I think he's heard that enough, I think Roman kind of meant that shit. Now, back in season 1, Kendall was the one who would step up for his siblings or his kid or whoever and try and take on the bully, and now he is the bully, and now I feel like Roman is kind of the one stepping in going, like, fucking stop. Still Roman, so he doesn't do it the same way, but I really do think he was jokingly saying this, but I think he meant it, like, I think he's heard that enough, stop, like, that you don't matter and you're irrelevant and you're a problem, and Kendall's going off and saying these terrible things to him. Roman says he's going to pass. Ken starts going off, but Roman doesn't let anything get to him. And then we get to Shiv. And I think that when he called her a twat, he genuinely meant that shit. And that's how I felt. I was like, oh, this isn't a funny one. This is we'd be fighting, I'd be calling people type shit, what you're saying right now. And I don't know if Kendall truly feels that way, but when he started saying, like, you're only valued for your tits, go. So it's like, I don't think that was supposed to be like a funny, dark comic rant. I think that was supposed to be like, this should make you uncomfortable. And it should make you uncomfortable if somebody's talking like that. Bill is straight up admitting that's the only reason I want any of you here. I don't give a fuck that you're my siblings. I give a fuck about your shares and your percentages and the fact that you're a token woman. And I think he believes that shit in the moment. I think he does. About his siblings, at least. I don't know. But I think Kendall is showing off he's more like Logan than he says. And guess what? I think Logan is not like that. Logan respects women that can do their job. It's like Tywin Lannister when he says to Cersei, I don't underestimate you because you're a woman. I underestimate you because you're not as smart as you think you are. Yeah, the stuff Kendall was saying, I think he meant it. He used the term woman, he says girl, and it's like, if men get called boys, you hurt their fragile little fucking ego about it. I'm not a boy, I'm a man. Okay, well then stop using the term girl. You owe me an explanation to them. You owe me this. They don't owe you shit. You didn't fucking owe them any. Go to meet up with their dad when he's coming back to the U.S. There's a bunch of photographers there. Roman gets out and hugs his dad. Shiv doesn't get out. Tom gets in the car with Shiv, then gets out of the back with her, gets into the front. Logan does not acknowledge Jerry. People are taking this as, this is bad for Jerry. And I'm like, no, I do think Jerry's in for it because obviously Logan says that to Shiv in a minute, but I think he doesn't want it on camera of me and you being all super tight and shit because then they're going to think that I'm just telling you every single thing to do, which I am, but I don't want them to know that. I want them to think you're actually making decisions. He does tell Shiv, I'm going to make you president. She's like, that title don't mean shit. And he was like, well, it means that you'll be my eyes and ears and you can tell me everything and you can start calling shots and then saying you have some training under your belt. I don't think even if she isn't screwed over or is screwed over, either way, Jerry's like a cat and will land on her feet. But by Logan saying that line about Jerry, what I heard in that line was, I will do whatever it takes to protect my family. Do you understand that? I will protect our name and our company and my baby that I built over everything. and us over everyone. I think that's going to bother Roman, because Roman has been so Team Logan. If he finds out that there's some real bad shit going to happen to Jerry, he'll be pissed. And then we get the end, which I loved the way they did this and didn't have dialogue and didn't have shit. Like, this show is just, it's perfect. We all know it's perfect. Succession fans, where you at? The Succession Squad from Facebook, what's up? You guys are the best. I love the Succession fandom. You guys are the least negative people on the internet. What up? We get to the very end, and Ken, we just see him, like, the paparazzi's chasing him, because they are running into Lisa Bloom's office, and obviously he's panicking and freaking the fuck out, because now they're all going to run back to Dad and tell him what the fuck went down. Yeah, tell me everything you thought about the episode. Tell me what you think is going to happen. Go watch my playlist. You'll see what I think is going to happen to Cousin Greg. I want to make a couple more Succession videos. Hopefully Mom feels better. Hopefully I'm not getting sick, because that's going to be a problem. But yeah, thank you guys so much for subscribing. I never thought that anybody would subscribe to listen to me talk about bullshit, especially Succession. And I love this show. I love all the shows I talk about and all the movies I talk about. But remember, at 300 subs, all you have to do is subscribe and comment, and you can get the Loki horns with the stand from the Emerald Empire. So yeah. Like, share, subscribe, comment. What the fuck? Succession, it's perfect. Go watch the show. The show is fucking perfect.